I'm Anne from ATC Studio, and in today's video we're going to be talking about exactly how best to get started with Death Guard in Warhammer 40k. So of course this is with 9th edition, because of course since 8th edition there's been lots of changes. You no longer have No Fear, Dark Imperium or First Strike, which is really annoying because they were a really good way to get into the game. You also no longer have the easy to build 3 Plague Marine kit, or of course the Falthis and Tainted cohort, so quite a lot has changed. And of course we've also got all the new 9th edition rules, so I'm going to be quickly telling you how best to start your Death Guard army. Now, as for HQ choices, one really nice addition to have to your army is, of course, Typhus. Now, particularly as a combat patrol, particularly as a first HQ choice, because when you're starting, he sort of does everything. He can buff up nearby poxwalkers, so just give your army a bit make it more of an army style and not just some random units splat on the board. And of course Typhus he's also a really good melee character, so he's going to charge up, do well in melee. Unfortunately he doesn't have a good warlord trait, but of course it is a really nice model to paint, and he's also to build and paint, and of course he is also a psyker, which just gives him that nice little extra buff. And although he is 165 points, he sort of does a bit of everything, so it's really good for your first HQ choice. So I'd certainly go and get him. Of course, for other HQ choices, now of course you can't get the Lord of Contagion model. I'm sure you can probably find it on eBay or something, because the Lord of Contagion model is quite cool. It is a melee unit. However, again, the Lord of Contagion isn't too great, so I probably actually wouldn't get it. There's no reason to take it over Typhus or Chaos Lord, which is probably what you want instead. It will give you rerolls of 1, and although Lord of Contagion can do that with a stratagem, the Lord of Contagion isn't so good otherwise, because it's quite a lot of points for something that really is only just melee and a bit too slow. So of course you can get the Chaos Lord. You can find it on the Chaos Space Marines page. So if you go to Chaos Space Marines, you will be able to find, of course, the Chaos Space Marine Sorcerer as well, which I'll get back to in a second, because you can use that as, of course, a malignant playcaster. So, of course, you can have Chaos Lord, nice, simple, quite a good model, gives you some rerolls, good for a normal HQ choice. Unfortunately, you can't do the malignant playcaster model. I would try to get it off eBay, because it's a really nice model, and you're going to always probably want at least one of them, just to give a bit of psychic support, because it is a really good psyker. However, of course, if you can't get them, you can always get the regular Chaos Space Marine Sorcerer, but hopefully there will be another way to get the Malignant Playcaster quite soon, because you are going to want one of those in your army. So you're going to want Typhus, and there may be a Chaos Lord or a Malignant Playcaster just to help build your army. And of course Demon Prince is also very good, because of course it's got lots of wounds. The Demon Prince of Nurgle, with 8 wounds, although it is 3750, is going to give you a really good, just for like an HQ that, like Typhus, can do everything, but he can do a bit more because he can have a good relic and the Warlord trait. And although he is a lot of points, he's going to be good in melee, really resilient with 8 wounds and tough 7 or something. He's also going to be Psyker, give you 1 psychic power. He's going to do everything. He's going to give rerolls of 1 to nearby within 7 inches. So he's going to do a bit of everything. I would probably get him as well. So make sure a Demon Prince, and then either Typhus if you don't want to spend that much, or of course you can also add in Malignant Playcaster, Lord of Contagion, etc. So as for troop choices, now the problem with Poxwalkers is they are really expensive, because of course you can't get them in the boxes anymore, and you're only going to get 6 for 10 quid. So I probably wouldn't build a Poxwalker orientated army at the moment, especially as they're not really that good with 7 points per model. Maybe you can have a few of them to hold objectives, just move forward, just a few of them, but I wouldn't put a whole army around them. You're going to be mainly wanting the Plague Marines, because of course with Plague Marines they are very resilient, 1 wound out of them, but they also have disgustingly resilient and a 3-up save and T5. And of course, once all the codexes get released, there will be 2 wounds, they'll be really resilient, and they will be good. And although 7 for 30 quid doesn't sound that great, they're already quite good, and they are a lot of points, 18 points a model, and you do get quite a lot for those points. And of course, when they become 2 wounds, they're going to be a lot more points. You're still going to get decent points per money, and they're still going to be quite good. They're going to be really resilient, and I can imagine that once they get the 2 wound updates, they're going to be very good. So I would probably get 1 or 2 battalions and get a few of the 7-man Plague Marine squads. You have 3 of these squads all moving up the board. They can really provide you with a really nice army, and they are probably your best troop choice. Now, of course, going into elites, there are a lot of elites to talk about. Firstly, on the Terminators, Death Shroud, they're very good for bodyguards, particularly when you want to be protecting foul blight spawns and stuff, but they are 35 quid, and I think they're good for a bigger army. But just as you're starting up, you probably don't want them quite yet. You might want like little Terminators. They do a bit of everything. They can be melee, they can be fire support, they can be your deep strike option. They're quite nice. They have quite a lot of roles. So I would say that at the start, so when you're starting, this is a decent option. They are quite good. Not too many points, and they do put quite a bit of resilience with it. So I would probably put in a few Blight Lord Terminators when you're starting. Maybe not the very start, but once you're at 1.5k, once you're building up your army, this is going to be quite a nice option for Terminators. Now, of course, also, if we go to the single elites, you're going to want at least 1 tallyman just for those extra command points that you can gain. If you roll 2d6 every time you spend a command point, which of course you are doing a lot, and on a 7 that command point is refunded. And of course, there is also the foul blight spawn. You're going to want one of these. Great aura, when you're charged, you're still going to fight first. Absolutely ridiculous. Really good flamer. You want at least one of these. This is going to be your first elite purchase. It is by far the best Death Guard model, and even if you say it costs a bit, it's certainly worth it. Even though it's not many points and does cost quite a bit of money, you're going to get so much out of it. You always want at least 1, 2 or 3. The more, the better. And of course, you can get the Biologist Putrefier if you're going for lots of characters with lots of auras, although of course you don't want to hand them to any secondaries by killing characters. But you can use this to, especially if you use the Fugrous Hound, to give +3 inches to auras, and one of the other stratagems, you can make it so all things within 6 inches reroll disgusting resilience of 1 and 2, which is going to be really helpful. So you might want to put one of these in your list, and again, it's quite cheap. It's not exactly going to take up much space. There is no harm. Now, of course, moving on to fast attack, you have the floating blow drones, which I wouldn't recommend getting at the moment. You might want to get one of them. They are 30 quid, which is quite a lot for a demon engine. So maybe get one of them to have a bit of fast attack, something that can just go on a wing, capture a side objective, move quickly, and so got quite a bit of damage. But I wouldn't buy tons of these, and particularly not at the very start. Maybe when you get to around 1k, purchase one of them, but it's not really worth getting all 3. So, which is what I unfortunately did, because they were really good last edition. Although you might still be able to get some from the box sets on eBay, but it might be quite difficult to get, so it's quite expensive. I won't get one at the very start. They will be quite nice to include. What I would be getting is the Methodic Blight Haulers, particularly at the very start. So let's imagine that you've got a Demon Prince, a squad of Plague Marines, the Foul Blight Spawn. What are you going to want to add to that for the very start of your army? You're going to be wanting the Methodic Blight Hauler. What it does is a bit of everything. Of course, you might just start with just one of them. It's going to give you fire support. It's going to give you a buff to nearby infantry, giving them all cover. And it's also going to give you just some nice sticky demon engine that's going to be moving, be giving you something that's going to be moving quickly up the board. And it's really multi-purpose. It's really useful. And of course, I would probably bring a squad of 3 of them, because then you can do some nice things with them. You can, if you've got a squad of 3, you can make it so that they, of course, they are automatically +1 to hit when there's a squad of 3. You can make them -1 to hit. There's lots of nice stuff you can do with lots of different stratagems and stuff that work quite nicely on a squad of 3, and of course mainly the plus to hit. So as you're getting a bigger army, a squad of 3 of these with your army, it's going to be for quite a while giving all your nearby units cover, which is going to be really annoying for the opponent, particularly if you're making them -1 to hit. They're going to be shooting at that, and they're barely going to be doing any damage, but yet they can't do much to the nearby units as they're on cover because of that, and it's going to be giving you a little bit of fire support, and of course it's only 100 points a model for just 15 quid, and that's for a tanky model that's going to give you a lot of painting time. For 15 quid, it is a really, really good deal, so definitely worth getting at the start. Now, of course, we're going to just quickly go on to heavy support. Of course, the best heavy support option will be the Plague Burst Crawler. Plague Burst Crawler is going to do some damage. It's going to sit at the back. It's going to take in a lot of shots. Nice to see on the back objective. The mortar can target things that it can't see. Put it with the entropy cannons, or of course it can move up with the plague spitters. Got quite a lot of options with it. It's very useful. You're going to be wanting 1 or 2 of these. This is probably going to be one of your first heavy support options, particularly with some of the new stratagems. It can do a nice bit of damage. You could, of course, get, I wouldn't personally get Halberd or Land Raider. What you might want to get is a Defiler. It's quite nice. You can have it from quite good at melee or quite good at heavy support. You can use Stratagem to give it disgusting resilient, which also makes it really resilient at the same time. And though it's quite expensive at 45 quid, it's going to be really nice going around the board and doing a bit of everything. Can do anything. So when you've got a small army, it's going to be useful because it's just going to have, there's just going to be so many different aspects that you're going to want to use it for. Of course, if you want to spend a bit more money, you can get the Land Raider. It helps a bit of transport because, of course, Chaos Rhino, I wouldn't say it's really worth it. It might be once the Plague Marines get 2 wounds, but then there's no need to put them in a Rhino because they're resilient enough as they are themselves, and it just stops them shooting. It's just a bit of a waste. So Land Raider, of course, you can also give it Disgusting Resilient, which when it's a big wound, lots of fire model will be quite nice. Now, I might also get, of course, from Forge World. Now, although I wouldn't recommend starting with Forge World if this is your first army, because resin's a pain to build and not quite as fun to build. But if you want to get competitive with, of course, some Forge World stuff, the only things I would recommend are Contemptor Dreadnoughts, quite nice, but of course, most importantly, Leviathan Dreadnoughts, particularly if you give them disgusting resilient, they're going to be sticking around for a while. They're going to be using those Butcher Cannons to really annoy lots of opponent models, particularly Primaris Marines, which are going to be really scary. Although, of course, with the 2 wound update, that's also going to extend to things like Rubric Marines, because that 8-1/2 is really nice, because, of course, you're wounding on 2s, and you're killing them in one shot. Rubric Marines dead, Primaris Marines dead. So I would certainly recommend, if you want to put some Forge World in, get the Leviathan Dreadnought. Also, you can, of course, get Necrocious the Undying, although I'm not quite sure. I got a feeling he was taken down from the web store, which is a shame, but he is still there. You can still get him, you can still proxy him. I'm not sure. I will check after this video. I'll put in the description whether he is or not still available on the web store. I don't think he is, but if he is, I'll make sure to note you in the description below. And of course, finally, once you've got a bigger army, it's quite nice to give you Mortarion, particularly give you a bit of lore behind the army. He is quite a lot of money. You're not going to want to have him at the very start, but once you've got a bigger army, he's really nice to have. So make sure to get him at the end. Of course, I would say that don't rush on the Death Guard Codex now, because in a few months there's going to be a new one. So yes, you can get it, but I would just use Wikipedia for the time being, as long as you're, because there's not really going to be much competitive play till the next edition. So, well, not next edition, but till all the new codexes are out. I'm sure your friends won't mind if you're just using Wikipedia, because the new codexes will be out very soon. So, of course, watch out for that. I might do an update if a lot does change for the Death Guard. But that is about it for this video. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe. It means a lot. Thanks for watching. Put your opinions in the comments below. But for now, bye.